Evening. Welcome everyone. Great to see so many people here on this beautiful Tuesday evening. And just want to start off by saying I'm really glad that you're here. You know, we're here today to not just give you some more information, tell you some more things that you probably already know, but really give you some answers that you've been looking for and guide you to the solution that you need to live the life that you were designed for. Because the real definition of doctor is teacher. And so my job here today in the next 6 to 8 hours or so is to teach you about what it means to be healthy, how to get to the actual cause of your issues, and how to find a real, natural, drug-free solution so that you can get your life back and start doing all the things that you need to do and be able to enjoy the things that you want to do. How's that sound? Sound good? How many of you have been to other doctors before or tried to do other things to improve your health? Raise your hand. Probably many of you, right? A lot of people that end up coming to our office are people that have tried everything. They've been to every doctor, they've taken all the medications, they've tried all the modalities, they've done all the things that other people in their same situation may have tried or done that helped or didn't help, and they get frustrated. Has everyone been frustrated before? Thinking I'm doing the right stuff, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm doing what my doctor says, but I'm still not better. I see that all the time. Yep, raise your hand. That's been me too. That's actually what led me to what I do now, is because I never got the answers I was looking for. No one ever told me what was causing the problem. Therefore, I never actually got better. We're here today to help you get better. And I can tell you for sure, you take action on the things that you learn, you apply the things that we talk about here today, your life will change. Fair enough? Outstanding. So when we look at this, there's a lot of people that are struggling with their health right now with so many different ways. Some of the things that we're talking about today when it comes to mental health is not just mental, it has physical effects, and it affects every other part of your life. How do you be the best mom or dad if you're constantly feeling less than? How do you be the best at work or serve in your community or reach your highest levels if you're constantly tired or you're not feeling like yourself, or you're anxious or stressed or depressed and you don't even feel like getting up that day, or you can't bring apart the energy to do the things you know you need to do to actually be healthy, and you just got to take that first step or that next step to really get to where you want to go. A lot of people come in here just like that, sitting in seats just like you, that have been able to change their life in a positive way. Right? This is Tracy. Like a lot of people, she struggled with chronic pain. Every day waking up in pain, right? Starting off your day already less than. Every time you try to push yourself or do a little bit more, it hurts more, so you stop doing things. You give up the things that you enjoy. You know, you do things like take ibuprofen or Advil or muscle relaxers or gabapentin or other things just to get through the day, because that's what it takes, just to do the bare minimum. But then you have nothing left over for your family or everybody else. And that starts taking away from your energy, so you're tired all the time. People start gaining weight. They start developing secondary and tertiary health conditions on top of that. You know, and they go to the doctor, because that's what we're told to do, right? Go to your doctor, find out what's going on. And what do? They do a bunch of tests. They do these tests, and this test says you have this issue, and this test says you have that problem, and this one diagnoses you with this something else. And then, well, it's like, you seem to have a lot of stress. You should probably manage that more. We don't know what else to do, so we're going to give you some medications. Who here loves taking medications? Raise your hand. Nobody. Do you feel your best taking medications? No, you don't. Does anybody believe that these are actually fixing the problem? Nobody. So why are these the most commonly prescribed medications in our country? Antidepressants, one of the top medications consistently prescribed. Then more tests. How do you think that worked out? Probably been there, right? You know it doesn't work, because it's not the solution. We're constantly treating and managing the symptoms and the effects, and all the diagnosis is in managing disease without ever getting to the reason why it's happening in the first place. That's the first question we're going to answer for you today. Why is this happening? And then number two, once you understand more about, okay, now I get the reasons why, what do I do about it? And how do I actually get better? Right? That's number two that we're going to answer for you. Right? What is the potential path to a solution? And the third thing I'll tell you before we go today, because that's the absolute most important and what's going to get you really what you want. So we see people coming in like this all the time who've gone through a process of what's called pathogenesis. That's our modern medical system. It's pathology, it's diagnosis, it's disease, it's treatment, drugs, shots, and surgeries. And if you're here, you all know that doesn't work. So we gotta look at something different. What we focus on here in our office is what's called salutogenesis. So this is different. We're not looking at the individual parts. We're not breaking you up into different systems. We're looking at you as a whole person. And the goal is not to treat or manage something, tell you that there's something wrong with you, your genetics are bad, your chemicals and hormones are bad, everything's out of balance, but to really focus on well-being rather than disease treatment. Taking care of the whole person to where your body actually is able to heal itself in a more natural way. How does that sound like a way to view and manage your health? Pretty awesome, right? To feel empowered about how to take care of your health is much more beneficial than feeling defeated. There's something wrong that you can't do anything about. You're just gonna have to deal with it for the rest of your life. And you get to choose, right? Today is an opportunity for you to choose to do something different, to change the way you view and manage your health, to create a different result, to say, I'm no longer willing to accept this because I know I deserve and am worth more. That's what we want to focus on. And this is the first principle. If you guys are taking notes, write this down. Healthy is normal. Does everybody believe that? Healthy is normal. That's how your body was designed. We were designed to be self-healing, self-regulating. Nobody was designed and destined to be sick. We weren't designed to break down as we age. We were designed to be diagnosed with all kinds of different medical and health conditions and live in pain and fatigue and mental disorders and everything else. That's not normal. These things are unhealthy. And so the goal is not to treat the unhealthy, it's to get your body back to that healthy normal where everything starts working better. And I can tell you that that is absolutely possible. So no matter where you are in your health, whether you're doing really well and looking to do just a little bit better or prevent issues from coming up, or you're all the way on the other spectrum where you're suffering day in, day out. You've tried everything. You've almost lost hope, right? There is a path for you to be able to get better, right? So today we're going to go over some bad news. Bad news based upon facts of the reality of how things actually are. But we're going to go over some good news. Good news based upon truth. Truth of what's possible. Things that maybe your doctor had never told you before, or things you haven't tried to this degree. And the goal of that is to help give you that path for something that's going to be better for you. And all the information here isn't just opinion or gathered facts that I've put together. It's based upon research. And we've taken decades and decades of research, hours and hours and hours of study to put this all into the next 60 to 90 minutes. So that way you guys get the most focused, up-to-date research and information on natural health and healing when it comes to mental health issues. Pretty cool, right? Aren't you glad you came? Yes, I'm glad you're here too. And just so you know, these things are available. And did everybody sign in when they came in today? We're going to send you some follow-up information on some of these resources and research articles and different books you can read and health tips so you can actually go beyond from today and be applying some of the things that you learn and have some of the resources that are available, because this information is out here, but you're not going to get it from your doctor. You're not going to see it on TV. It's not on the billboards right along the freeway, and it's not on your insurance plan. When it comes to getting healthy, that's something that you do. And that's important to understand, right? Because you either do sick or you do healthy, right? There's no in between. And so our goal here today is to help pivot you towards doing healthy, living healthy. And this information here is going to be gathered to be able to do that. So let's go some of the bad news. The impact of mental health disorders and how big of a deal it is. 15 million American adults are currently dealing with some level of mental health disorder. That's a lot, a significant amount of people. 25% of adults, that's 1 in 4. That's crazy. It's probably more, like you said. 50% develop at least one during their lifetime, right? So maybe they had something and it went away. That's 1 in 2. That's probably a more accurate statement of where we are. $300 billion per year is being spent on this issue. And what's happening to the progress of our health? Is it getting better or worse? It's getting worse, right? Every year we look at these studies and update them, the numbers go up and up and up. The amount of spending goes up and up and up, but the outcomes continue to get worse. So does anybody know the definition of insanity? Keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We can't keep treating it the same way and expect something to change. There's not going to be some miracle drug that comes out and fixes the problem. It's not going to happen, right? It's time we start taking responsibility for what's going on. We start to change it. What about anxiety? The most common mental illness in the United States. 40 million adults. That's 18% of the population. This is just adults. We're going to talk about the younger generations coming up in just a minute. $42 billion spent on anxiety alone. What about our children? 1 in 8 children have some type of anxiety disorder. That's pretty crazy, right? Because kids are supposed to be like happy and thriving and not have to worry about all these things. Why are so many kids stressed and anxious and already dealing with chronic health issues? What about PTSD? 7.7 million. We know that women are more likely to be affected than men from these types of issues. And 67% of people who develop these things had trauma at some point in their life that they still haven't uncovered because it's maybe still sitting deep within their body that you can't just get to with talking about it or making a simple change. What about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder? 2.2 million adults. Pretty even between men and women. A growing and more concerning problem, especially with younger people. It's happening earlier and earlier, right? Over 2 million children, and that number continues to grow. And depression is still one of the top causes of disability in the Western world as a whole. So we know this is a big problem, right? That's no news to a lot of you, right? You've been there, you've seen it. Not everybody knows this, though. And so when we think about all the treatments that are available, all the drugs that have come up, all the new things that have happened, the outcomes haven't changed, and it's happening earlier and earlier. 1 in 3, 33 children, 1 in 8 in adolescence is actually the fastest growing of depression and anxiety is those teenage years. And I see some young people here today. So I'm glad you're here. For those of you that are parents, you know what it's like when your kids are not at their best. I have kids myself, 2 young girls, 6 and 9. Thankfully, we've learned a lot of these things and they've been living the things you're going to teach here today. But I see so many children coming into our office that are struggling with these things from an early age, and it really can be disruptive to the whole family. So there's been some great resources for all these that are readers. So some good books you may want to look at that helps uncover some of these things and teaches you a little bit more. This is one I really like. It talks about blaming the brain, the truth about drugs and mental health. Really goes through how these drugs came to be and why they started to be used and how over time they become less and less effective. And they're really finding out that these issues are not just a chemical imbalance. And when we give you more dopamine or serotonin, or we give you drugs that mess with your chemical hormones in your brain, it's not fixing the problem. In fact, it's creating more problems, and it's creating more imbalance, and it's creating more stress to your system. And they know this, but it keeps getting prescribed, and it keeps getting given to people over and over again. So the research, they've gone through this where they know that there's no real evidence that shows these things are actually effective in helping people get better. They've studied when we mess with these chemicals and hormone levels that actually doesn't make changes. So when they tell their patients that depression and anxiety is a result of chemical imbalance, that's not true. That's not based upon fact, right? The stuff we're going to talk about today, I said the good news is based upon truth. So one of the facts is that you've been told the wrong information. And I know that may be a bit frustrating, but that's what we want to change. And we said at the beginning, the goal of being a doctor here is to educate and to teach people on the truth of what's actually going on. So what we really need to look at is, why are we so sick? Why are we one of the most sick societies in the modern world? Well, number one is most people, they don't know how to be healthy, right? We don't eat good food. We don't have good habits. We're constantly stressed. We take more medications than any other country in the world by far. We ask more of ourselves with less consistently. So of course, it's going to be able to create problems. So there's 3 main reasons I have found in over 14 years of working with patients. Number one is that a lot of people, they just don't know what health is, right? They don't have the right information. No one ever really taught them what to do, what health is, how the body works, everything that goes into that, right? We're going to talk about those things today, and we teach that all the time. Number two is they don't take responsibility for their health. And that's not your fault. You were told from a very young age that you have nothing to do with your health. Your whole life is already destined out based upon your genetics or your age or your ethnicity or whatever, your family history, whatever those things are, right? And if you got diagnosed with something, that was just going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it, right? So it's easy to just say, okay, well, there's nothing I can do, right? Or you blame it on something else that happens. And we've all had stuff happen to us. I've had traumas. I've had issues. We've all had stuff going on right into there, right? It's easy to say all these things led to where I am now, but the hard part is taking responsibility for that and knowing that you need to make the change to be able to get better, because no one else can do it but you, right? And that's the most important thing here, taking responsibility for where you are right now, but also for where you want to be. Because where you're going to be in another month or 6 months or year or 5 years is based upon what you do right now. And where you are now is based upon what you did all the time leading up to this. And so whether that was the right things or the wrong things, that doesn't have to be your future. You can choose to do something different if you take action. And I know you guys are action takers because you showed up today. You showed up. It would have been so easy to not even come in. You took the time to click the ad and fill out the information and register and actually show up today. You know, we had over 150 people register to come to the class today. And we probably have 30 people here. And so I know you guys are the top of the top who are the most committed, who are ready to take action, and so you're going to get a lot of this information. So let's teach you some things about how your body actually works so you understand what's going on. Sound good? Nobody's fallen asleep yet? You got everybody? All right. So this is your illness-wellness continuum. This is how your body works. The amazing intelligence that is your body runs this way. So this part here in the middle, this is what's called the comfort zone. This is the most dangerous place to be in your health because 90% of what goes on in your body, you don't feel. You don't feel it. There's no symptoms, there's no warning signs, nothing. Only 10%, that's it, 10%. So what were we taught to focus on? The 90% or the 10%? 10%, right? How do you feel? What does every single thing talk about? Symptoms, symptoms, symptoms. And when do you go get checked out? When you feel great or when you feel bad? It's when you feel bad, right? It's when things are not working well and you're already way down here developing disease and issues that you actually taught to do something about it. So zero. Zero is you don't have any specific symptoms. You maybe aren't your best, but there's nothing really going on. So it's that old, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I must be okay. Let's just let it go. But your body's likely not great here. So if you just continue doing all the things that you did, over time, these things compound. They compound and they compound. And eventually you start getting to the point where symptoms show up. This could be fatigue, could be digestive problems, could be stress and anxiety, it could be altered mood, could be poor sleep, could be pain, numbness and tingling, headaches, whatever it is. Your body is smart. It never causes harm. So when something's not working and it's not been working for a while and your body can no longer adapt to that, it sends you a signal. That's what a symptom is. A symptom is a good thing. Remember that. A symptom is your body doing the right thing at the right time based upon the environment around you and what's going on inside. So that symptom says, hey, there's a problem. Let's do something about it. So when the symptom shows up, I found most people do one of three things. They're going to just ignore it and go on living their life, right? Because we're busy. Life can be unnaturally stressful. It's fast-paced. And sometimes things start out and they're minor. Well, I'm just a little more tired. I'm going to push through it. I'm going to have an extra cup of coffee. I'm going to do an energy drink. I got a headache today. I'm going to take an Excedrin. My back hurts. I got Tylenol. I got ibuprofen. Got to go to work. Got to go to school. Got an event later on today. You just keep going, right? You just kind of work through it. You deal with it. I hear that all the time. I just push through it. I just deal with it. Who wants to push through and deal with their life? Nobody. So why do we do it all the time? We do it all the time, right? I've been guilty of it too. Everybody does it because you got stuff to do. There's a lot being asked for you all the time. Number two is you get used to covering up the symptoms. So now I take ibuprofen every day just to get out of bed. I take these antidepressant medications, anti-anxiety medications. I take Pepto-Bismol every day. I take this, I take that, right? Whether it's over the counter, whether it's prescribed, right? You get used to doing it. And you start to think that it's normal because a lot of people do it. It's super common. It seems like it's normal. Oh, my blood pressure's good. I got 2 medications for that. Oh, my blood sugar's fine. I'm on 3 diabetes medications. It's not fine. You're on 3 medications. What happens when you stop taking those? Poof, shoots right back up, right? You're just masking the symptoms. But what's happening to your health and your body? Which direction are you going? This way or this way? We're getting sicker, right? Because the problem's still there. You're likely still doing all the same things that caused it. And now we added new chemical stresses that have side effects too. So you just compound. Then 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3. The disorders start to compound and they get worse and worse. And that's when we end up here. Now it's multiple medications, poor quality of life, right? Wondering, how did I get here? What next? So some of you may be over here. Some of you may be here. Some of you may be feeling I'm kind of okay. No matter where you are, the key thing is, how do we get you back over here? Because good health is when you have good, healthy habits on a regular basis. Consistently eating good food, not just to lose weight or for a short period of time or for a quick cleanse, but that's your lifestyle. Exercising regularly, moving your body in a healthy way because you want to be healthy, not just to look a certain way or to create a certain type of result. Consistently doing things that build your health, because the goal is I want to be at my best. I do these things not just to feel better or to manage some type of disease. I don't take vitamin D to treat something, or I don't take a certain type of lifestyle modification for this. I do these things to help my body function better so I can deal with what's going on. And then ideally, optimum health. Who would like to be at their optimum health where they felt great every day, there were no pain, they could do everything they wanted to do, and you live a long, healthy life? Raise your hand. That's my goal. That's what I work towards every day. So when you wake up in the morning, how many action steps are you taking to get here? What does your morning look like? Do you get up and do self-care for the first 30 minutes or hour or 90 minutes of the day? Or do you just get up and right into the day? Right into my stuff, right? You wake up the last possible second after pushing snooze 8 times, and you're late already, and you're stressed, and you're not feeling good, and you're tired, and you can't wait till that first cup of coffee just to exist, and then on with your day. See a lot of like, that sounds like me. Yeah, I did that for so many years too. And you can kind of get away with it for a while. You can. And you kind of justify to yourself, like, that's just what I got to do, and I'm tired, and I'm busy, and I got this and that going on. But it all catches up with you. Catches up with you, right? And then you can't really do that anymore, and it's hard to exist in that zone. And so you're not going to go from here to here. It doesn't happen that way. To get from here to here, it takes time. It takes change. It takes doing the hard work sometimes. But it's going to be hard either way. It's hard existing over here, isn't it? It's really hard. And it's going to be hard forever until you decide to do something different. It's hard to get from here to here. It's hard to get from here to here. But you know what? As you're climbing that, it gets easier. That's the good news. It gets easier and it builds momentum, and you can start doing more of the things that you want to do. And so what we need to focus on is the most important aspects of your health. So there's one thing that controls your body's function more than anything else, and that's your nervous system. Your nervous system, it's a master control center of every single part of your body. It connects to all the trillions of cells. It regulates every system. It beats your heart, helps your lungs breathe, it digests food, and it balances all those chemicals in your brain and other parts of the body. It all happens through the nervous system. So my professional training, what I do is I'm a chiropractor. So most people think of chiropractic as cracking your back or neck, or that time you hurt yourself at work, or you got in a car accident and they twist your neck, or do all these other things. You know, we do some of those things, and we certainly rehab people from injuries, and we deal with back problems and things along those lines. But really, chiropractors who do what I do, which is only about 1%, are brain and nervous system doctors. We're actually helping your brain and nervous system functioning more optimally, because that's what runs the whole show. So if we can get your nervous system healthy, we can change your entire life. And we're going to talk more about that as we go through here. But I want to introduce you to the most important thing. And medicine has known this for a while. In fact, well over 100 years, medical research has showed how vital your nervous system is. But last time you went to the doctor, they look at the health and function of your nervous system. No, not unless they thought you had a brain tumor or some kind of crazy lesion, right? Other than that, it doesn't matter. The quality of your health is directly proportional to the functional capacity of the nervous system to send and receive messages. The Journal of Neurological Science, medical research. They know that your nervous system is absolutely essential. The connection from your brain through your spine and out to your body is what controls all health and all healing. So if you want a better result, you got to ask a better question. And sometimes those questions can be a bit tough. But I want to help you go through some of these things today. Right? We're going to challenge your thinking a little bit. Because unless we challenge your thinking and ask better questions, we're never going to get the answers that we actually want. So number one, why do mental health conditions occur with other physical conditions? It's not just fatigue, it's pain. It's not just anxiety, it's rapid heart rate, it's indigestion, it's poor sleep. Why is that happening? The reason why is because it's all connected through here. If one part of the nervous system isn't working, and other parts can be affected too. Everything that you see, feel, everything that moves is all connected right here through the nervous system. Why are they strongly predicted by early life stress? They know now that if you have traumatic events that happen in your life early on, it affects you later on down the line. Because when you're young, your brain and nervous system really isn't equipped to deal with a lot of stress. And this even happens before birth now, right? They've studied this in what's called epigenetics. Has ever heard of that before? Epigenetics is your genetic development in utero. So if mom is living in a stressful environment for whatever reason, well, that baby is being equipped to be born into a stressful environment. And so they found that people who were pregnant during stressful times, whatever that was, a challenged relationship, financial stress, maybe a time of war or other things going on, that those children that were born actually had higher levels of stress and anxiety because it was imprinted on their nervous system and actually changed their genetic expression before they were even born. That's pretty crazy, right? And then when you look at as you're a child and you're a baby and you're developing, stuff happens around us. There could be family stress, there could be relationship stress, there could be childhood traumas, there could be abuse, there could be so many things that can happen that are unfortunately common that imprint on your nervous system. And that changes what's going on with your brain. It changes the expression to the rest of your body. And that's not something that just goes away on its own. So what if mental health issues are not a disease, but rather more of a symptom? That's important to understand. There's nothing wrong with you. There's just an imbalance that needs to be addressed. No one's gotten to the cause yet. And what you're experiencing is the symptom of a bigger problem. And what if it's a whole body systemic problem? We talked about that salutogenic approach, right? Why are we just treating one thing? Why are we just taking a drug to change this one chemical? Why are we just treating one part of the body when the body operates as a whole, not as individual parts? See, these are the kind of questions that we want to start to answer, is how do we actually get to what's really going on? So when we look at mental health disorders, this is what really happens. So you do have some genetic and environmental predisposition. That could be the epigenetics that we're talking about. That could be before you were even born. That could be childhood and development. That could be you were bullied in elementary school, or you had a traumatic event in high school, or you had something go on in adulthood, or you served in the military, or you had a crazy car accident. All these things happen. You lost a loved one. A stressful event happened and actually starts changing what's going on, or you're constantly in an environment of stress that's bombarding your body. So what that does, it starts to affect other parts of your health. So one of the things that really gets affected is what's called your microbiome. So microbiome is your digestive system, right? That's like your secondary brain. It's what actually controls and regulates many of the chemicals that affect your body. Dopamine, serotonin, all the vitamins and minerals. It's a big part of your immune system, right? This is really, really important. So say you were born and instead of going through the normal delivery system, you had a C-section. Well, you're missing out on that first start of your microbiome. And now with about 20 to 30% of children being born through C-section now in America, that's a big problem. And you wonder why kids have so many neurodevelopmental problems and digestive problems and allergies, and they're getting sick all the time. And they're developing these issues earlier is because already they're starting off without the microbiome that they need. And then how many people have taken antibiotics for ear infections and so many random things, and over and over and over again, you're actually killing your gut microbiome, and then you're being told to use antibacterial soap and antibacterial hand cleansers, and you're insulting your body the whole time, all the way along the way. Medications, poor diet, hyper stress. So it starts to affect your gut and creates what's called a leaky gut issue. Okay, so now chemicals and other things inflammatory are getting into your brain. They're getting into your nervous system. They're creating secondary and tertiary problems. Now we're getting autoimmune issues, brain inflammation, pathogens in your body. So as more stress you create, the harder it is for your body to function optimally. And systems start to shut down. It's just like a computer, right? If one thing is working super hard, something else shuts down. Something else has to go. That's what your body does. It sacrifices certain systems along the way when it's no longer able to deal with what's going on. So the gut is such an important component of your health. And we got to make sure that we're addressing this. This is one of the biggest things that I see with children and adults when it comes to mental health issues is they have gut problems. Always. And that doesn't always mean a digestive issue. It doesn't have to mean IBS. It doesn't have to mean indigestion. It could be a skin problem. It could be a fatigue problem. It could be a chemical imbalance. It could be immune system, fatigue, poor sleep. So many things are connected back to the gut because that's directly related to your nervous system. So we got to address some of the main issues. We got to look at what's going on with the gut. 90% of the body's serotonin is made in the gut. Serotonin is that feel-good hormone. So many people are taking drugs to change this when it's produced naturally by your body when everything's working well. So when you get things back in order, your body can produce all the things that it needs on its own. The best doctor, the best pharmacy exists in you right now. Everything you need is already there. You have this innate intelligence that runs your body that's always at 100%. Every single one of you has 100% capacity right now. If you're over here, it's because it's being interfered with. We need to remove all the interferences so that health can be expressed, and that's what changes. And a big part of it is stress, right? Hundreds of thousands of years ago, when humans came around, we had stresses in our life. We thought, hey, we're going to get attacked by a tiger. We're going to get eaten by a woolly mammoth. We're going to starve to death. There's a crazy storm. It's amazingly hot outside. I broke my foot and there's nothing I can do about it, right? There's stresses that came up in life, in human history, but they were short-lived stress. It came up, the body did what it needed to do. The sympathetic response, the pro-inflammatory response, has short-term benefits for your health, but now we live in a society where these stresses are going on all the time. Your brain doesn't know the difference between being chased by a tiger in the woods and having relationship stress at home. It doesn't know the difference between starving for food and going hunting and having an argument with your spouse. It doesn't know the difference. And so now we live in a society where we're constantly being bombarded with stress, especially if you're on social media, especially if you watch the news, right? What is it all the time? Fear and stress, and everything's burning down, and bad news constantly. So your brain is constantly fight or flight all the time, constantly. So now we're getting long-term cost. In the short term, stress is good. It helps your body fight or flight in the situation, and that's an amazing thing. Long term, it wears those systems out, and it creates chronic problems because we're not supposed to be perpetually stressed. So you have two parts of your nervous system. This is super important to understand. You have the sympathetic part. Sympathetic is the stress part, right? That's the fight or flight area. And that's super important in that area, right? If you gotta get in a fight or you gotta run away to save your life, there's certain things that you want to have happen. You want your heart to beat faster so it can pump more blood to your body. You want your blood pressure to go up. You want your eyesight to change. You want your breathing rate to change. You don't need your immune system at that time, so it can go shut off. You don't need your digestive system because if you don't survive the next 5 minutes, none of that matters. So that can turn off too. So all the beneficial long-term parts of health turn off during stress. And everything else is heightened in that moment. That's the sympathetic response. That's what happens over here. Okay? This secretes adrenaline. This secretes Norepinephrine, this secretes cortisol, which downregulates all the other good hormones. So imagine if you lived your life over here. What's going on inside your body all the time? Now, parasympathetic, this is the side that's calming, resting, digesting, right? This is where all the good things happen. And we should be able to go heightened and then right back over here because it slows down your heart. It decreases your blood pressure. It builds up your immune system and your digestive system and calms down the chemicals to your brain. We should be able to gas brake, gas brake, gas brake. That's normal. That's what a healthy nervous system does, right? So what is the role of the nervous system? The most important role of your nervous system isn't just to control your eyesight or your heartbeat or your breathing rate. It's to actually help us adapt and deal with stress. That's what the nervous system does. So a healthy nervous system is adapting to stress constantly, keeping your body in regulation so everything works well. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right, the goal is not to turn you into a neurologist today, but really just understand how things really work and why things may be out of balance. So we look at real life people like Preston. Preston has a busy job. You know, he's an executive at a business. He works sometimes 8, 10, 12-hour days, which can be stressful, right? You got numbers you got to meet. You got extra hours you got to do. He has a family at home, and he wants to be there too, but sometimes he comes home and he's tired, right? He's fatigued all the time. He wakes up and he's tired. He's tired in the middle of the day. He's tired at the end of the day, right? So you're not motivated to work out when you're tired. You're not the best dad when you get home. You're not even the best at work. So you're kind of just surviving. And that's where he was. That had developed over these years of, you know, achieving. We want to achieve. We want to provide for our families. We want to have a successful career. We want to have a good life. All right, that was him. Then he started developing chronic pain, back problems, sometimes sciatic problems, sits all day at his chair, neck tension, pain in the shoulder, pain down the arm sometimes, chronic pain issues start developing. He's not sleeping good, which means his body's not recovering. And he gets these panic attacks. Remember had those panic attacks before? Where you just feel, you just can't control what's going on. You lose control of your body, which is a scary thing because we want to have control. And he was going through this. So you think about it, goes to his doctor. We don't know what's going on. Let's send you to the specialist. There's like a different doctor for every single part of you that none of them know what's actually going on. Let's send you to the specialist and let's see what's going on in there. I think you have anxiety, so we're going to give you some anxiety medications. Okay, great. Starts taking medications. Doesn't fix the problem. Feels better sometimes, feels worse other times. Feels like he's not himself anymore. Okay? The side effects become worse than the actual issues he was dealing with before, so he wants to be able to get off of it. Well, now they say, well, we got this new wonder drug. Let's try that. Right? Everybody got that before? This one doesn't work, so let's try this one. Oh, that one's not working. Maybe this one will work for you. Or if we take these two together, then that's going to fix the problem. Does that ever fix the problem? No. Sometimes a little bit, you feel a little bit better, right? Like, oh, this seems like it's working. But then other stuff starts coming up. And the side effects start coming in. And then, well, now you're gaining weight. Or you're not hungry. Or you're not sleeping. Or this comes up. Or you get angry for no reason. Or the depression worsens. Right? It just keeps compounding. Because a chemical solution isn't a solution. It's just another stress to your body. Creating more imbalance. They told him he was just depressed. You don't want to hear that, right? There's nothing we can do. It's in your head. You're just depressed. I guess you're just going to have to deal with it. Do you think this helped? Nope. No. It doesn't help. It's not going to cause the problem. What actually measures what's going on? Well, there's a test that we do called heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is a way to actually measure the stress in your nervous system. We can look at the sympathetic system, the parasympathetic system, how balanced things are. How is your nervous system adapting to stress? Wouldn't that be an important question to understand? Yeah, if we know the nervous system is designed to adapt to stress, and this test actually measures how your nervous system adapts to stress, that would be pretty valuable information to know. Well, that's what this test does. This green zone is where we need to be. That's healthy adaptation. Most people exist somewhere down here. Left side is more stress, right side is constantly stressed. So this is short-term stress, this is long-term stress. When you have short-term stress for long enough, it burns out all your adrenal systems and you get stuck over here, which is worse. This is fibromyalgia, this is severe depression, this is nothing's working in your body now because all those things that normally pick up, they just don't anymore. So you're just constantly here all the time. Not a fun place to be. And they've looked at this too. They know this. They know that sympathetic dominance with decreased parasympathetic system, antidepressants makes this worse. It makes it worse. So if you have a nervous system imbalance and you take medications for it, you're gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse. They know this. It's in the medical research right here. It's in the research. They've known this since 2009. But these get prescribed more and more and more. They know that patients with major depressive disorders consistently show profound autonomic dysfunction, right? That's interference with how your brain talks to your body through the nervous system. A condition called subluxation, which no medical doctor is equipped to handle. They don't know how to deal with this stuff. Depression and anxiety disorder consistently exhibit low heart rate variability in those who don't. Nervous system imbalance. Your body's not handling stress well. It's creating secondary problems. Unmedicated, physically healthy major depressive disorder patients with and without comorbid anxiety had reduced heart rate variability. Significant lower heart rate variability for patients with depressive disorders. And we can measure that and actually see how it changes and influence that for the better. So we talked about early life and how it starts affecting your brain and your nervous system and how these things work. Another good book, Healing Developmental Trauma. I've been going through some of these things myself. I had childhood traumas through my life, and it shows up in other areas later on down the line. And these imprint on your nervous system. They create these sympathetic spaces, and you can't just talk your way through it. It doesn't just go away. It's almost unconscious. Have you ever had those things that just come out of nowhere and you don't even know why? You don't even know why you responded a certain way, or you sabotaged a certain part of your life, or you went back to that pattern again, even though you didn't want to and consciously have been trying to make change, but just seems like it happens out of nowhere for no reason. This is unhealed trauma that still exists, and that exists in your nervous system. And you can work through this in a natural way. It's amazing. It's amazing what happens as you start going through this, because we have what's called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity says your brain can change. Your brain can change. Have you ever learned a new skill? You start doing it at first, and most of the time, you're not very good. You're not very good, right? If we took you up to the top of a mountain you've never skied before, and we just pushed you off the edge of the hill and said, go ski, you're not going to join the Olympic team after that. You're probably going to fall, and you're not going to do very well, right? Because your brain isn't equipped to deal with it. But if you did it again the next day, and you did it again and again, and you practice, eventually your brain learns. That's neuroplasticity. So if you can learn a physical skill, you can learn an emotional skill. You can learn a mental skill. You can change what your brain does in situations by practicing those things in a different way. Things like meditation, deep breathing. There's EMDR. There's neurofeedback. There's other things that you can do, brain mapping with your brain, to create neuroplasticity that rewires and changes how your brain works in certain situations. So instead of being in a stressful situation and you freak out and you get angry and you get mad, or you pull back and you cry and you distance yourself or something else, you change the response. And it changes the nervous system and it rewires your brain. Pretty cool, right? But you don't just do it once. There's no quick fix. I said it was going to be hard and there's going to be some work and you got to be dedicated to it. But if you're willing to put in the work, your brain changes. And they know this. They've looked at this. Specifically when it comes to chiropractic. This is why I love chiropractic and that's why I'm a chiropractor. Is because we're changing the brain. They know when you get adjusted, it changes brain activity. They prove it. We adjust somebody and immediately it lights up certain parts of the brain. The prefrontal cortex, the limbic system, the areas that regulate emotion and that regulate control and communication all light up when you get them adjusted. That's pretty cool. No drug does that. No exercise does that. Right? Eating kale doesn't do that. Only chiropractic adjustments does this. Changes brain activity 20%. They know that when you get adjusted, it changes your brain. We know that it affects neuroplasticity. They actually found that spinal dysfunction alters the central nervous system. We know this because it's a short circuit. If there's an area of your spine that's out of its normal alignment, right? For example, you're supposed to have a curve in your neck like this. If your neck's like this, there's a disafferentation. There's a disconnect between your brain and your body, and no longer is things getting the right information. If you just leave it like this, it's only going to get worse. What happens if we can restore that? Or restore that movement? Reconnecting the brain to the body. Removing the interference. Neuroplasticity. When it's altered, it leads to plastic changes, which leads to stress. Subluxation, spinal issues, uncorrected, lead to sympathetic dominance in your nervous system because it's a state of stress. It's a stress. Your brain's not getting the right information, it's stressed out about it, and it's sending the wrong signals out to the rest of your body. How are things supposed to work properly like that? It can't. That's the simple answer. Neuroplastic changes following adjustments, because when we're doing that, we're changing the communication from the brain to the body. Pretty cool. That's why I love chiropractic. What is subluxation? You've heard us talk about this a few different times. How many of you have been to a chiropractor before? Some of you, right? And your experiences probably have varied greatly because there's a wide stream of what goes on. You don't just walk in and you get the same thing. It can be very, very, very different. So I'm going to talk to you today of like who you need to see if you want to really correct your problems. Subluxation is when your spine loses its alignment, right? It's supposed to be straight, it's curved. The only way to know that is to look at you physically and to take an x-ray. There's only two ways to know. Anytime your spine's out of alignment, it stops moving properly. Right? Have you ever tried to look over your shoulder and you got to do this? Right? You can't back out of the car. Or you look up and it hurts. Or you look at yourself and you're kind of like this. One shoulder's a little higher. Your purse falls off to the side. Or you walk a little bit differently. Or your shoe wears differently on one side. Right? These are all biomechanical issues of misalignments in the spine. But you wouldn't know to look at that if nobody ever told you. You just think, oh, that's just me. I kind of move like this. My neck always hurts on the left side. That's just me. Right? You had that car accident 20 years ago and never fixed it. It's still there, right? It's causing subluxation and it's negatively affecting your brain, right? Autonomic imbalance, decreased blood flow, more inflammation, mechanical cord tension, cerebral spinal fluid alterations. You're like, what's all that stuff? I don't know what any of that means. What's important to understand, 90% of the nutrition of your brain comes from movement of the spine. 90%. So if your brain needs to be healthy, and it needs nutrition, and it comes from movement of the spine, how important that your spine moves properly? Pretty darn important, right? Did your doctor look at that? Nope, of course not, because only chiropractors are trained to deal with subluxation. That's cerebral spinal fluid flow. That's blood flow. What about inflammation? Mechanical cord tension stress, right? When you move a joint and it hurts, that's not normal. That's not supposed to happen. If you sprain your knee and you twisted it and it hurts, you understand that. If you keep walking on your knee, you keep running and playing on your knee, it's going to hurt. If you do nothing about that 5, 10, 15 years down the line, you're going to get knee arthritis and your knee's going to hurt all the time. And that makes sense. What if you injure your spine and it hurts and it heals wrong and you leave that there for 10 years? You're going to get arthritis there too. That's not good. The difference between your knee and your neck is that your knee is a joint. There is no neurology to your knee other than the information to the blood flow into the muscles. But your neck regulates your heart and your lungs and your thyroid gland and the glands of your throat and your eyes and the oxygen and blood flow to your brain and your spinal cord. Big difference. Still a joint, but it's not a back problem. It's a health problem because now we're affecting your nervous system. So if you never got that checked and repaired and healed properly, it's still there. It's still there. So all these things build up over the years, right? And we know that. We know that thoughts, feelings, and emotions all get processed through the spine. I've adjusted people and they break down crying out of nowhere, or they have a major emotional breakthrough that had nothing to do with the physical problem in their spine, but it was stored in their nervous system and actually allowed that to release and go through their body. It's amazing. We adjust somebody and their blood pressure goes down. For others, it goes up. Digestive problems go away. Babies who haven't gone to the bathroom since they were born immediately are now going, and things are starting to work because it's affecting the nervous system. We know that misalignments in the upper part of the neck is compromising cerebral spinal fluid to the brain. Cerebral spinal fluid is what cleanses your brain. It's what actually detoxes your brain and hydrates all the neural systems. So what do you think the first subluxation is? It's right here in the upper neck. For those of you who are moms, Remember what it was like having that baby come out? It wasn't just like, whoop. There is tension. It's in there. You're going in this. Imagine if that just twisted this just a little bit, and affect that C1. What's the most common subluxation? Loss of curve in the neck. How many people have a cell phone? Everybody. Raise your hand. Come on. You know you do. Or you work on a computer. Or you have a tablet. Right? What does that do to your head? Causes this. It causes a loss of curve in your neck. So it doesn't have to be a car accident. It doesn't have to be falling off a cliff or flipping over your handlebars on your bike. That stuff happens. Many of you may have experienced that. I know I have. It could be being on your cell phone 2, 3, 4, 8, 10 hours a day, sitting at a computer every day, chronic repetitive stress that slowly changes the alignment of your spine and creates subluxation. And now we have a nervous system and a health problem. How often are you getting that checked? How often should you actually be checked? Right, these are questions to ask. Should you just go in when your neck is excruciatingly painful or when your sciatic flares up? Is once or twice a year enough, like going to your dentist? Or is it once a month? Is it every other week? Is it multiple times a week? These are good questions to ask. I can tell you after reading the research and working with patients for the last 14 plus years, the minimum, if you want to maintain the health of your spine, is at least every 2 weeks. That's the minimum. It's how often you should get your spine checked and adjusted. Every 2 weeks. Because after 2 weeks, the process of degeneration and subluxation is already happening. They've been testing it for years. Within 6 weeks, it's already causing this nerve system damage. So if it's been longer than 6 weeks, your nervous system is being affected. So I see people come in and they say, oh yeah, I see the chiropractor regularly. How often do you go? Once every few months. Whenever it hurts, right? I got 6 visits on my insurance plan, so I kind of spread that out as much as I can, right? What if you brush your teeth once a month? How good would that be? If you exercised a couple times a month, would you be fit and healthy? No. Because we're under more stress than that, right? You eat food every day, so you got to brush your teeth every day. You put stress on your spine every day, so you got to take care of it every day. Does that mean you got to get adjusted every day? No. There's certain kind of exercise and things that you can do to actually keep your spine healthy, which is things that we teach our patients here. Those do need to be done every day. Getting checked for subluxation is varying depending on what's going on. So we can actually measure this too. Autonomic dysfunction. You can measure skin temperature to look at how the nerves are regulating the organs and systems of your body. How is blood flow? How is the nerve supply to my digestive system, or my thyroid gland, or my stomach, or my liver, or my pancreas? You can actually measure that by measuring temperature along the spine. It's called thermography. One of the tests that we do when people come into the office. So we can actually find autonomic dysfunction and know where to look to actually get to the root cause of the problem. So that way we're addressing the real issue. Subluxation and fight or flight. We know that subluxation puts your body into a fight or flight system, and when we adjust you, we actually balance that out and bring you more to parasympathetic. So we're actually turning on the part of your nervous system that controls health and healing, rest and digestion. They know that subluxation, decreased heart rate variability, affects what's going on, and they see a direct correlation with subluxation. So they've been studying these things for years, and they see that heart rate variability changes. It goes from stress to better and eventually balanced, because your nervous system's ability to deal with and adapt to stress get better. And we also teach people how to live a healthier lifestyle, which means you have less stress overall. So if you can reduce the amount of stress that you're under, help your body better deal with and manage that stress, and get the nervous system healthy, imagine what's possible. It's pretty amazing. Because what do we say at the beginning? Your body is healthy. It's designed to be healthy, and that's normal. So what causes subluxation? What do you think? Stress.
Slips.
Ding, ding, ding. Stress. It's around us every day. Slips and falls. There's macro traumas, right? You get in a car accident. You played football in high school. You went skiing and you flipped down the hill and your skis went flying right after you. Right? Those things, they happen. You fall down the stairs. You trip. It all happens. You have a stressful job. Physical stress. But what you may not think about is the micro traumas that happen every day. I mentioned some of those. Using your cell phone, using your computer, sitting for multiple hours a day, sedentary lifestyle, repetitive activities. These are also the same stresses over time, and it's the very same thing as a car accident. And that's what most people are dealing with. They're like, there wasn't really a major injury that happened. It just kind of progressed and built up over the years. That's micro physical trauma. What about mental trauma? We talked about those things, right? It could be daily stress. It could even be stress you put on yourself. Sometimes we say things to ourselves that we wouldn't say to anybody else, right? You're hard on yourself. You're not good enough. You don't look the right way. You're this, you're that. You're a failure. You're a loser. Right? Maybe you've said those things to yourself at some point, or you let someone in your life say those things to you, or you've had major issues. You've lost a loved one. You've had life trauma. It happens. It comes up. What about chemical stress? Chemical stress is all around us, right? We live in a toxic world. There's 3,000 additives that are allowed to be put in your food every single day. If you just eat conventional diet, you're getting herbicides, you're getting pesticides, you're getting genetically modified foods, you're getting chemicals and hormones. If you drink regular water, you're getting fluoride, you're getting chlorine, you're getting old medications. If you take medications themselves, that's the biggest stress. Right? It's just compounding on us all the time. And your body's equipped to deal with these things. But what happens when the body's under more stress than it can handle? Well, eventually, the effects show up. Do you want to treat the effects, or do you want to fix the problem? That's the question you got to ask yourself. So how common is subluxation? Well, they researched this too. 1,250 infants evaluated in the first 5 days of life. So how many of you had your baby checked by a chiropractor in the first 5 days of their life? One person. And that's not your fault, because nobody told you. Does your doctor say that? No, they take them and they prod them and they give them vaccines and they give them all kinds of this other stuff, give them scores and all these things. But nobody's looking at the nervous system. Of 1,250, 90% had suffered enough birth trauma to cause subluxation. 90%. 90% of those kids already had subluxation of the upper part of their neck. 10% severe trauma, right? That would be brachial plexus, loss of the arm, torticollis, significant bruising, right? That happens even in a normal, healthy delivery sometimes, just because of the situation. So we see a lot of pregnant moms to help them through the process, to prepare their body for having the most successful birth possible, and educate them on all the things they can do along the way. We see babies when they're born. My two daughters, the first thing we did when they were born is we got them adjusted. My one daughter was born in the hospital. My second daughter was born home. It was an amazing experience. I adjusted her right when she came out. And that was the first thing that we did. Because I want to make sure that their nervous system's at 100% from birth. And they continue to get adjusted now. Not just when they hurt themselves or when they're sick, consistently, at least every 2 weeks, if not more. And they know if something's going on, Dad, can you check me? My wife's also a chiropractor. She actually specializes in working with small children. And when they do have significant birth trauma, she has specialized training in how to help get them back to healthy and normal as quick as possible. Not wearing a helmet or a neck brace or going through some crazy therapy, but actually how to fix it so the body heals itself and works with those moms along the way. It's amazing. So we see that all the time here in our office. There's something called KISS syndrome, which is basically the medical term for subluxation, where they look at misalignments in the spine. The delicate upper cervical structures undergo significant stress, long labor, C-section, extractions, twins or triplets, prenatal position abnormalities. These things come up consistently. We can actually help change these early on. So when you look at how consistent those are, it's important to get babies checked, right? These are moms getting adjusted, kids, babies, totally normal. They like it. They may cry as they do it, but it's not hurting them. It's very safe, it's gentle, it's amazing. Right? So if you have small children, or pregnant moms, or you have nieces and nephews, grandchildren, encourage them to see a chiropractor. Now, not all chiropractors are trained to do this, right? We have like one class in chiropractic school on pediatrics, one class, that's it. So you can't just take them to anybody and say, oh, can you adjust my baby? There's specialized training that we've gone through, and all the doctors in our office have gone through, and my wife has gone through the most. She's an expert in this, to really know how to take care of these. There's certain techniques that we use for pregnant moms. We don't adjust them the same as everybody else. There's specialized techniques that works with their pelvis and the attached ligaments and making sure the nervous system and everything's working right. So we minimize the risks of any kind of birth interruptions or issues. It's one of the best things that you can do. And they typically have less back labor, easier delivery, faster recovery, and the baby comes out better. No one probably told you this during your pregnancy. Sometimes doctors will even deter you from going to the chiropractor, saying it's unsafe to take your baby to the chiropractor, but will prescribe a non-tested drug to the very same child. It's crazy what's going on right now. I mean, wonder why kids are so sick, because you're being deterred away from the things that are actually healthy for you. Vitamin D, that doesn't seem very safe. Here's 3 medications to take that are completely unsafe, tested and known. So look at all these case studies. We're not going to go through all these. Basically what all these things are saying here as we're going through them, right? Like I said, the good news is based upon truth. The truth is out there. This stuff works. It gets people better. People change their lives as a result of this stuff, right? We look at the changes. This is such an amazing study they did here. They looked at thousands of chiropractic patients in 150 offices in 4 countries. And they took people who were having mental disorders, mental health concerns, and they started getting them adjusted against people who were doing nothing and against people who are taking medications for the very same issues. The chiropractic group, 15% higher in how they felt physically, all natural care. 17% improvement in their mental and emotional state. And this is just over 1 to 3 months, right? They were looking at this. Stress, 20%, better to deal with stress. Life enjoyment, 17%, right? Pretty cool, right? Now I'm going to go through a little bit of side effects of chiropractic, and you're going to see what that's all about. So when we look at subluxation is a health problem because it's affecting your nervous system. It's not a bad problem. So you guys all have your packets, right? So there's a couple little bit different. I want you to turn to one page. It has a spine on it. So it has some information about who we are and what we do and some of the resources we're talking about today. There's one page that has a picture of a spine. This is really important. This talks about the different parts of your nervous system. And you really, really want to understand this. So we're looking at this. You have 24 different segments of your spine. 24. When you're a child, you have 29 because your sacrum is actually 5 pieces too. So as an adult, 24 different areas. Each level of your spine controls something different. I want you to look at the top one. The one that says 1C. Okay? And maybe not all of you brought your glasses and it's like size 4 font. But when you look at it, 1C regulates the blood supply to your brain. It regulates your sympathetic nervous system. Okay? The sympathetic nervous system. This is called your atlas, most important area of your spine. Now what I really want you to look at is the right side, the effects of misalignment, which is subluxation. So we know what it controls, but how much of your nervous system do you actually feel? You guys remember? 10%. You feel 10% of what goes on. 90% you don't feel, okay? So this right side is that 10%. When you've already lost 40% or more of function, that's when the symptom shows up. That's when it's bad enough for you to feel it. So what does this have? Headaches. One of the biggest reasons why people show up to their doctor, fatigue and headaches. Headaches are so common now, there's a million drugs out there to be able to treat that. Headaches are not normal. 95% of headaches come from the neck. It's called cervicogenic headache. Excedrin won't fix that. Nervousness, insomnia. So now we're talking about poor sleep, mental health issues, anxiety, high blood pressure, migraines, chronic tiredness, dizziness. All in just one single area because we're creating autonomic dysfunction. And so what we do is we actually go in and check what's going on with that C1 there. Is there a problem? Oh yeah, it's rotated, it's twisted, it's moved forward. Let's put that back where it needs to be. And as we do that, you're realigning the brain stem, which is what's affecting what's going on with the brain. And now everything else below is affected. It's so important. There's a segment of chiropractors that work with just that single segment of the spine alone. That's all they do. They adjust this one bone in the spine because of how important it is. That's C1. And you go down this list, and it controls every single part of your body. Your low back goes to all your digestive system. It goes down into your legs, your bowel, your bladder, your reproductive organs. It affects your kidneys. As you get higher, it goes into your adrenal system. And it goes into your pancreas and your liver and your stomach and your gallbladder and your heart and your lungs and your arms. And then it goes into your neck and the thyroid gland and the glands of your throat and your sinuses and your eyes and ears and nose. It's all connected, all right here through the spine. So as you look at that here, look at the different parts in the middle. What does this control? Oh, this goes to my neck. This goes to my shoulder. This goes to my knee. And then look at the right side. So if you're experiencing any symptoms at all, look at the right side. Which area of my spine is this being affected? And because you have digestive problems, doesn't necessarily mean you have to have low back pain. You could have subluxation with pain because you only feel how much? 10%. Okay, we got it. You only feel 10%. And so that 10% may be affecting your somatic system, your organs, more than it affects your physical system like a muscle. Because you have 3 parts of every nerve. You have muscle, sensory was what you feel, and you have somatic. So you touch a part of your skin and you feel the sensation of you touching it. Well, what if that nerve's being affected or damaged? You do this and you don't feel it, or it hurts, or there's nothing at all, or you get numbness and tingling. That's the sensory portion of your nerves. Or you touch a muscle and it hurts, or it's chronically tight, or you get spasms, or you limited movement. Well, that's nerve supply to muscles. That's measured through EMG. Or your heart's not beating right, or your digestive system's off. Well, you can't necessarily feel that. That's the same nerve going to the organs. That's subluxated, that's being interfered with. Right? See, we look at all these things, and just because you're not having a symptom doesn't mean it's not working well. That's why we check everything. And we measure every part of your spine to get the whole system working better, because we take care of you as a whole, not as individual parts. So if you come in with a low back problem, we're not just checking the low back and that's it. Because the whole system needs to work well to be healthy. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So when you look there back to the front, go back a couple of pages, it says Patient Health Survey. And what this one goes through is just some of the more common things that you may be feeling. I think it's page 3 with what's going on. So this is the time for us to look at how are we doing, taking a self-assessment. Now, although we're not based on symptoms, symptoms can tell you some information about where to look or what may be going on. So you're going to see a few different questions there on a scale of 1 to 7. 1 is like, I have 0 problems at all, no issues. 7 is it's a daily chronic concern. So take a couple of minutes and just self-rate where you are right now. Okay? Are you a 2? Are you a 4 or a 5? There's only, I think, like, 5 questions or something, not very many. So just take a couple of minutes, and you don't got to think about it a lot. First thing that comes to your head, it's a 5, it's a 6, right? Whatever that is, just go ahead and write that down. So that way you know exactly where you are. And we can get an idea of what are your main concerns. Is it fatigue? I'm not sleeping well. Hormonal imbalance, anxiety, depression, chronic pain, digestive disorder, whatever that is. Go ahead and take a second to circle that so you know exactly where you are. Some of the warning signs of subluxation, you saw those on that sheet. Here's the common ones we see when you're really young, like infants, toddlers, right, if you're looking for what's going on. One of the biggest ones is they're having latching issues early on, trouble breastfeeding, maybe one side is better than the other. They cry a lot, you can't really figure out why. Colic, if you ever had a colicky baby, you know how stressful that can be. Maybe that's part of the chronic stress that started from that time in your life. They get eczema, they get ear infections a lot. They have trouble focusing, immune problems, getting sick too often. These are indications that subluxation is happening. Something's going on, body's not working right. We need to get that checked, right? Like I said, we see a lot of babies. Subluxation is very common early on in life. When you get older, it manifests into more significant problems. So now it may become anxiety or depression or a hormonal imbalance or a digestive disorder. Maybe it's focus issues, ADHD, injuries from sports, right? You play sports. That was one of the things that led me to chiropractic is as a teenager, I was an athlete, I was a baseball player. I was always getting injured. It was my knee, it was my shoulder, it was my elbow, it was my neck. I could not figure out why. And it wasn't until I had a severe injury that I finally went to the chiropractor who told me and showed me everything that was going on. Totally changed my life. But damage had already been done. Permanently damaged my shoulder. I permanently damaged parts of my body that were never going to be the same again. I wish I had learned that earlier. Because I knew if I knew this would have never happened. I could have totally changed how I took care of myself. All I did was ibuprofen and Advil and Tylenol, and I played through it. I made the problem worse, and no doctor told me what was going on until I went to the chiropractor. Here's your problem. No curve in your neck. Subluxation here. Oh, that makes total sense. Total sense. How if I had a problem in my neck, my shoulder, my arm wouldn't be working right. And I was throwing hundreds and hundreds of balls every single week as a pitcher. Of course things were going to break down over time. Totally changes what's going on. Asthma, allergies, headaches, so common. Back issues. And in adults, they become worse problems. Now those headaches become migraines. And now you're getting sciatic pain, or you get numbness and tingling. Now you're getting high blood pressure, menstrual problems, depression, so many tension, focus, numbness, tingling. All right, that's why we want to look at these things here. If you're having a 3 or 4 or 5, especially if it's a 6 or a 7, your body's telling you, hey, there's a problem. Have you looked at your spine and nervous system? How do you even know if you have subluxation? Well, we already talked about some of these things. Number one is we want to measure your nervous system. When you first come in, we actually do heart rate variability. Right? How's that autonomic system doing? We do the temperature along the skin. That's the thermography. That's this one here. We can actually see the organs and systems and how those are connected. And then we look at the muscle systems through EMG, and you get a score. You get a score out of 100. 90 or above is what's healthy, right? That's that optimal that we're shooting for. Where do you think most people show up? Somewhere down here. 70, 60, 50s. I see 50s a lot. And typically the most stress is this middle number, which is going to be your posture. Posturally stressful. When's the last time you really paid attention to your posture? All right, that's the next thing that we look at. We look at your physical health. We know that posture affects almost every physiological function in your body, from how you breathe, to your heart, to your digestion, your immune system, it's all there, right? Again, medical research, Journal of Pain Management, not addressed by your doctor. And when you go in, do they look at your posture? No. Do you even know how to assess your posture? Your posture is like a mirror into your spine. If your head's to the right, likely your spine is to the right. If your head's forward, likely you've lost the curve in your neck. If your hips are twisted, your pelvis is likely twisted. Well, those are the nerves that go to your digestive system, or that go to your leg or your knee or your foot. Why does your right knee always hurt? Well, maybe it's a subluxation of your pelvis. How would you know if you didn't look? So we go through and do a physical exam. We look at your posture. We look at how things are moving, what's going on with the muscle tension. And the most important test we do is we take an x-ray. So some of you raised your hand and said, I've been to a chiropractor before. So you want to start asking yourself some questions. Did they do neurological tests and scans like this? Yes or no? Did they do x-rays? Yes or no? Was there re-x-rays and re-evaluations later on down the line to show that the problem had actually been corrected? Was there a plan of correcting and restoring that function? Not just based upon symptoms, not just based upon cost or number of visits or what's on your insurance plan, but what you actually needed to correct the problem. If you went to your trainer and you went there and you weighed yourself in and it said 200 pounds and you wanted to lose 50 pounds and you just never looked again, how would you know? If you just went in and said, like, I think I feel lighter today, let me check it out. Oh, nope, it's not there. And there was no assessment, there was no plan, there was no guidance along the way. How successful do you think you're going to be? Not very successful. So we have a lot of people come into our office that have been to chiropractors before and maybe didn't get the result they want. Or maybe it helped them a lot, but they just fell off of it for whatever reason. And they start coming in here. And we go through these evaluations. And we find the cause of the problem. And we actually develop a plan for them to be able to get better. That encompasses chiropractic care, balancing of the nervous system, home care to rehab the spine and actually create healthy habits, lifestyle care to address the other areas of stress and actually teach your body how to heal. We also do functional medicine. We do metabolic testing. We actually look at how these stress hormones are existing in your life, and we can get to the bottom of that, and it totally changes what's going on. So when we look at your x-ray, we look at the structure. We look at how long has the problem been there. Phase 1 is subluxation less than 8 years. You have it longer than that, 8 to 12 years, phase 2. We're already seeing degenerative change, arthritis, disc degeneration, nerve damage. Phase 2, it's been there even longer. Phase 3, we're talking decades. Phase 4, don't see a lot of phase 4. Why do you think that is?
Because they did.
If someone is this bad and their spine is this degenerated and your nervous system is really that important, if you're all the way over here, you're either dead or so sick that you can't be helped anymore. So let's not wait till it's permanent to do something about it. Let's not wait till you're dragging your leg in or you have tried and exhausted every single part of medical care and then come check it out, come in as early as you can. Because the earlier you get on it, over here we can typically get 100% or close to it correction. Over here, not as much. Over here, we're not really correcting that problem. We're improving it at that point. So look at the most important system of your body first. And this is how we see radical change, right? This is another patient that came into our office. Depression, anxiety, fatigue, chronic pain. Like a lot of people, did all the tests. No answers. Couldn't figure out what was going on. Prescribed medications. Told her, think positive. Hopefully your problem improves. What do you think happened? Did you get better? No. What was the difference? She came to our office, came to an event like this. The reason why we do these events is to help people like you find the solution that you need. She comes in and gets an x-ray. This is her x-ray on left side. Is there a curve in the neck? No? You guys can all see that, right? You're not a trained radiologist, but you can pretty much see no curve in the neck. There's degeneration of the spine. The head is shifted forward. What's that doing to the autonomic nervous system? That's the brainstem, that's the spinal cord. Clear subluxation. Is a medication going to fix this? No. Even if we got her exercising every day, and I gave her all of our good supplements, and we started doing all these things with her, and it was still like this, is her body going to be able to heal? No. Physiologically, it cannot. Got to get to the cause of the problem. So once we took an x-ray, we knew what was going on. And we have a specific corrective care program of not just pain relief adjustments, but corrective, restorative health adjustments to start getting things back. And the way we did this is through adjustments and therapies in the office, which you'll see when you come in. We did home care, we remeasured along the way, and we're constantly working until we're getting function back. This is her in her first pre-x-ray 2 months later. Now she still has degenerative change of her neck, right? This isn't a full curve, but it's better than what it is here. And she started coming in 3 times a week, getting regular adjustments, starting to change what's going on in the nervous system. Neuroplasticity, remember we talked about that. Started implementing some healthy lifestyle habits. 2 months later, less headaches, sleeping better, more energy, better mood. Life's starting to change. But what if we just stopped at 2 months? What happens?
It goes back.
Just goes back because you haven't fixed it yet. It takes time to correct these issues. And that's what corrective care is all about. So a lot of people ask, are you on my insurance plan? The answer is no, because insurance is medical care. Medical care is symptom treatment and management. You have 6 visits. You have 12 visits. Somebody sits in a little office that says, I don't feel like you need this, so we're not going to do it. Is that the person you want dictating your care? No. It should be the doctor that's working with you, right? And chiropractors are the only doctors trained to correct and detect subluxation. Medical doctors are not trained on this at all. Your PT is not trained on this. Your neurologist isn't trained on this. Your massage therapist isn't trained on this. Chiropractors are the only doctors specifically trained. And we have done hundreds of additional training outside of the required to be specialists in this area. Spinal specialists of not just how to diagnose and understand what's going on, but how to correct the issue. And so all of our doctors are trained in this way. And we continue to go to seminars way above what's required to keep learning on the latest techniques. So that way we can get better and better and better, because that allows you to get a better outcome. And that's why we do things the way that we do here in our office. And we develop a specific plan of how to take care of that for you. So when we look at the side effects, I told you I was going to go through the side effects, right? So you guys have all maybe watched the playoffs, right? And you watch something on TV and you see these drug ads come up on TV. You can't miss them, right? It's like every other commercial. What's the last like 15, 20 seconds every time? Yes, it's all the side effects, right? It's all how it's going to make you sicker, how it's going to make your problems worse, how it might kill you, right? Make sure to check with your doctor for noticing like 50,000 conditions that are going on in there, right? Because they know those things are all there. Average of 70 per pill. That's for taking just one. And over-the-counters are just as dangerous. They're not any better just because you can go buy it at the store without a prescription. These are some of the side effects of chiropractic care that patients have reported. Better autonomic function, better endocrine function, which is the chemicals of your body, better heart function, better immune function, better strength, better athletic ability, improved heart rate variability. I showed you all the studies that go through this. Better respiration, better reaction time, better information processing, less stress, better hormones, better recovery, general health, reduce labor times during pregnancy. These are just some of the benefits that are going on through there. Pretty cool. So you got to think about what are the side effects that you want to be dealing with. We talked about the first two, and I hope we've helped you understand some of these things. Understand how health works, right? Better understanding of your nervous system and how stress affects your health and function. Number two, I hope we inspired you enough to take action. Take action on the things that you've learned so that way you can create a different result. Because if you just learn all this stuff and you go home and do the same thing, what happens? Nothing. It's going to stay the same or it's going to keep getting worse. Right? You got to take different action if you want to get a different result. And that's number three, is taking the necessary action to get better, right? You take responsibility and you take action. And you keep taking action because the compounding effects of healthy habits create amazing change. That's where a lot of people mess up. Sometimes you'll do things for a little while, you'll eat good for a little while, you'll exercise for a little while, and you just kind of get off of it, and you just stop doing it. And you go back to what's your normal. So let's create a new healthy normal. So things actually start working better. So how does this work?